The invitation came in a white envelope with gold foil lettering and the faint scent of money. You were cordially invited to the wedding of Ryan James Carter and Claire Elise Granger. No, dear sister. No, we'd love for you to be part of the ceremony. Just an RSVP card and a link to the registry, already 70% fulfilled. I held the card like it might burn me. Ryan is 2 years younger than me. We used to be close, back when close meant fighting over Nintendo controllers and eating Lucky Charms in front of the TV. Then high school hit. He became the star. Varsity everything. Student council. Prom king. Mom called him her miracle baby, even though I was born first and watched him get away with everything short of arson. I got good grades. Worked part-time through college. Graduated early. They called me reliable. When I started my own tech consulting firm at 26, they didn't ask about it. Didn't ask how it worked or if I was okay. Just assumed I was still doing computer stuff. I made my first 6 figures before Ryan graduated. By the time he got engaged, I was in a very different place than anyone thought, because I never flaunted it. I wore thrifted clothes, drove a 5-year-old car, and didn't post about my clients or finances online. That was by design. Because I learned early that in our family, wealth didn't equal worth, attention did. And Ryan monopolized all of it. But Claire was kind to me. From the first time we met, she treated me like a person, not Ryan's weird older sister who didn't like to party. When they started planning the wedding, she reached out to me directly. We're a little tight on money, she said over coffee. Venue deposits are no joke. I hate asking, but Ryan said you might be able to help? Even just a loan? Ryan hadn't said anything, of course. But I looked at her then, earnest, hopeful, scribbling notes on a budget sheet like it was a final exam, and I saw someone who just wanted a beautiful day without drowning in debt. So I made a decision. I'll cover it, I said. No interest. No questions. But I wanted anonymous. She blinked. Like, they won't know? Nope. She hesitated. Not even Ryan? Especially not Ryan. She nodded slowly. Deal. I wrote the first check the next day, then the second, then the third. By the end, I'd covered the venue, the catering, the flowers, the photographer, the live band, the bar tab, including Claire's mom's special request for top-shelf bourbon. $41,738.52 in total. I never flinched. I just made sure every receipt said the same thing. Paid in full, gift from a private contributor. Claire honored our agreement. Every time my name almost slipped, she'd course correct. Even when my mom asked who had the nerve to pay for an open bar like this, Claire just smiled and said, we got lucky. The rehearsal dinner was held at a fancy lakefront restaurant 2 nights before the ceremony. I showed up early, alone, in a navy blue dress I'd bought on clearance 3 years ago. The maitre d' barely looked at me before directing me to the back room. Inside, I found my parents laughing with Ryan and Claire's extended family. Dozens of people, dressed like they'd come from a country club fashion show. I smiled, approached the table, and said, hey. My mom looked at me and laughed. Oh, well, you wore that. A few people chuckled. I blinked. Excuse me. She sipped her wine. It's cute. Kind of a vintage frumpy chic? Like, ironically sad. Ryan grinned. At least you didn't try to match the bridal party. I felt heat crawl up my neck. I wasn't invited to be in the bridal party. My mom waved a hand. Well, you're not really the photogenic type. You know that. Silence. Claire opened her mouth, but I shook my head. I smiled. Tight. Polite. Then I sat and quietly began planning the moment I'd end this charade. Because they didn't just ignore me. They humiliated me at the wedding I paid for. After the dress comment, the rehearsal dinner unfolded like a bad play I'd already seen. Mom and Dad held court like royalty, sipping overpriced wine, telling Claire's family about Ryan's high school football record like it was still relevant. My dad used the phrase family values twice before dessert. My mom claimed she handmade the centerpieces herself, which was fascinating, because I'd personally paid the invoice for the florist. Claire caught my eye from across the table, her expression somewhere between mortified and murderous. She mouthed, I'm sorry. I just nodded. It wasn't her fault. But Ryan? He laughed along, smiled when someone joked about how the older sibling always turns out weird. Didn't flinch when Dad said, we're just lucky Claire comes from such an elevated background. Some of us need that balance. I left early. Said I'd work in the morning. No one objected. Outside, I sat in my car with the engine off, hands clenched around the wheel. The windows fogged up from my breath. I watched a couple from the dinner walk by, holding hands and laughing. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I opened my phone and added one last note to the speech I'd never planned to give. The morning of the wedding, I arrived at the venue an hour before the ceremony. The staff recognized me immediately. "Miss Carter," the coordinator beamed. "Everything's set. Just like you requested. The florist sent extras. Would you like them for your table?" I smiled. "Give them to the bride." She hesitated. "They still don't know it was you, do they?" "Nope." She looked at me for a long second. "If I were you." "I'm not you." She nodded and walked off. The wedding itself was beautiful. The kind of event people stage Pinterest boards around. Claire looked radiant. Ryan cried during the vows. The flower girl tripped once and stole everyone's heart. And then came the reception. Everything turned golden, the light, the champagne, the lies. My parents walked from table to table like hosts of a gala, bragging about the high-end vendors they personally selected. My mom told a story about negotiating the band price herself. My dad claimed the bourbon was his idea. I watched from the corner with a glass of water. No one asked why I wasn't drinking. I stood and walked outside to clear my head. The air was cool. Still, that's when I saw him. Ryan, alone on the terrace, tie loosened, staring out at the lake. He looked real. Not the golden boy. Just a man, slightly overwhelmed. I stepped up beside him. "Congratulations," I said. He nodded. "Thanks." Silence. Then, "You know, Mom thinks you hate weddings." I laughed, soft. "No, I just hate being erased at them." He frowned. "Come on, don't be dramatic." I turned. "Do you know who paid for this wedding, Ryan?" He blinked. "Claire said we had an anonymous donor." "That was me." Silence. His jaw tensed. "That's not funny. It's not a joke." He stared. "No, you're messing with me." I pulled up the receipts on my phone. Scrolled. Showed him the dates, the transfers, the amounts. The florist. The band. The bourbon. I watched the blood drain from his face. "I paid for all of it," I said quietly. "And then Mom mocked my dress. You laughed when they said I wasn't photogenic. I wasn't in your wedding party. I wasn't even in your photos. But without me, there wouldn't be a wedding." He didn't say anything. Not at first. Then he whispered, "Why?" "Because Claire asked," I said. "And because I wanted to believe I mattered enough that, even if you didn't see it, someone else did." He sat down hard on the terrace bench. Jesus. I looked at him for a long time. "I didn't do it for applause, Ryan. I did it because I love you. Even when you don't make it easy." The DJ started calling for the wedding party inside. Ryan didn't move. I turned to leave. "Wait," he said. "Are you going to tell them?" I didn't answer. But I knew the answer. They'd made a spectacle of my silence. It was only fair I returned the favor. The best man gave his speech first. It was fine, mostly beer jokes and Ryan's college stories. Too long. Too loud. Not personal. Claire's maid of honor followed. Her voice cracked as she talked about sleepovers, middle school heartbreak, and how Claire had dreamed of this day since she was 12. People clapped politely. Napkins dabbed eyes. Then the DJ made the announcement. "Before we get to dinner, the parents of the groom have a few words." I stiffened in my chair. Ryan was sitting with Claire, expression flat. He hadn't looked at me once since the terrace. Claire, though, she glanced my way 3 times in 1 minute. Something was brewing behind those eyes. My parents stood and took the mic together. "Thank you all for being here," my dad began. "We're so proud of our son, and so thrilled to welcome Claire into our family." "Isn't she stunning?" my mom added. Ryan really outkicked his coverage. Light laughter. Claire smiled, tight-lipped. "And of course," Dad continued, "it's taken a lot of time, planning, and investment to pull off an event like this." Mom laughed. "But every penny was worth it to give our son the day he deserves." The room clapped. I felt something shift in my chest, like the pop of a seam too long strained. Claire caught my eye. Nodded once. The DJ turned to move on, but Claire stood up. "Sorry, before we continue," she said, smiling sweetly, "there's one more speech." She looked at me. "Quinn, would you like to say a few words?" The room turned. Every head. Every face. I rose. My heels echoed against the floor as I walked to the mic. I took it gently from the DJ, thanked Claire with a nod, and turned to the room. "Hi, I'm Quinn, Ryan's older sister. Some of you know me. Most of you probably only noticed me when I wasn't included in the wedding party or the group photos." A few chuckles, uneasy. "But that's okay. I'm not here for attention. I'm here for truth. I looked toward my parents. They froze. I wasn't going to speak tonight. But then I realized that stories matter. The ones we tell about ourselves. And the ones we erase. I paused. For example, the story where this entire wedding was funded by our parents. People shifted in their chairs. That's a lovely story. But it's not true. My mom's face drained of color. My dad opened his mouth. I kept going. Every vendor, every bill, every bottle of wine, paid for by me, anonymously. Until now. Gasps. Ryan covered his face. I did it because I love my brother. And because Claire had the decency to treat me like family when no one else did. But mostly, I did it because I could. Because despite never being the favorite, never being in the spotlight, I built something on my own. Quietly. While everyone assumed I was just surviving. Silence. I smiled. And for the record, I liked my dress. Then I handed the mic back to the DJ, walked to my table, picked up my purse, and left the room in dead silence. As I passed the doors, someone clapped. Then another. Then more. I didn't look back. I made it halfway to my car before I heard my name. Quinn. It was Claire, running across the gravel in heels, her veil fluttering behind her like something out of a movie. She caught up, breathless. That was incredible. I gave a small smile. It wasn't meant to be. No, she said firmly. It needed to be. She handed me something, my jacket. It got cold in there after you left. Emotionally and literally. I laughed despite myself. Claire reached for my hand. I had no idea it would explode like that. But I'm glad you told them. She hesitated. Ryan wants to talk to you. He's kind of a wreck. I'll talk to him, I said. Later. She nodded. Take your time. But just so you know, I'm with you on this. They walked around like they were the heroes. I let them. That's on me too. I hugged her, tight and honest. The only genuine affection I'd felt from someone in that room all night. Back at my apartment, I curled up on the couch, still in my dress, hairpins digging into my scalp. I didn't move, didn't cry, didn't scream. I just existed. Free. My phone buzzed. Dozens of missed calls. Voicemails. Family members I hadn't heard from in years suddenly wanted to talk. I didn't answer. Then the screen lit up again. Mom. I let it ring. Voicemail. I stared at the screen, then pressed play. Her voice was brittle. Controlled. Quinn. That was unnecessary. You humiliated us. We were just trying to give Ryan his moment. I don't know why you needed to make everything about you. But if you want to talk, really talk, your father and I are willing to listen. We're staying at the Westlake Inn tonight. Room 241. Click. No apology. Just the same old subtext. You made us uncomfortable. Fix it. I sat in the dark for a long time. Then I got up, washed my face, and booked a therapy session. The next morning, Ryan showed up at my door. No warning. He looked wrecked. Tie gone. Shirt wrinkled. Face pale. Can I come in? I hesitated. Then stepped aside. He sat on the edge of the couch like a kid in trouble. I messed up, he said. I stayed quiet. I knew Mom and Dad were intense, but I didn't realize how much they'd made you feel invisible. You didn't realize? I said softly. He looked at his hands. I think I let them define who was worthy in the family. And I believed it. And when Claire asked me for help, I said, you didn't even consider it might have been me. He nodded. I'm sorry, he said. For all of it. The rehearsal dinner. The years before. Laughing at your dress. Letting them say what they did. You didn't deserve that. Any of it. I exhaled. It wasn't everything. But it was more than I expected. Do they know you're here? I asked. He shook his head. They're trying to spin it. Dad said you were having an emotional breakdown. Mom wants to call the vendors and clarify things. I laughed. Good luck. Every invoice has my name on it now. He looked up. They won't admit they're wrong, Quinn. But I will. You didn't just pay for our wedding. You gave us something beautiful. And I let them steal that from you. Silence. I want to fix it, he said. If you'll let me. I didn't answer right away. But I didn't shut the door. That night, I posted a single photo to Instagram. A shot of the wedding venue at golden hour. Just the lights. The lake. The tables. No faces. Caption. Sometimes you build the perfect day and stay in the shadows. Until you don't. Hashtag family is earned, hashtag funded and forgotten. The next morning, I woke up to chaos in my inbox. The Instagram post had gone viral, at least in our tiny hometown orbit. Screenshots were circulating through family group chats, high school friends, even a few of Claire's extended relatives I'd never met. Aunt Lynette, I knew you were the smart one. That wedding was too nice for Bob and Elaine to afford. Uncle Dan. Wait, so the whole thing was a lie? Cousin Jess, this is messy but also iconic. Can I send this to my therapist? Claire's sister. Girl. The way you exited? Chef's kiss. I didn't respond to any of them. Let the story tell itself. But then came the messages that didn't feel so fun. Dad text, this is disgraceful. Mom text, we're being humiliated. Hope you're happy. Mom again text, people are gossiping. You should take the post down. That one made me laugh. They'd spent their lives shaping narratives that cast me as forgettable, uptight, overly sensitive. But now, the truth, backed by receipts, was louder than any of their versions. I called my therapist. Good, Melissa said after I explained everything. You broke the cycle. It doesn't feel like breaking something, I admitted. It feels like stepping out of a burning house while everyone inside calls you dramatic for not enjoying the smoke. She smiled gently. That's how most family systems react to boundaries. First confusion, then anger, then, if you're lucky, change. I'm not sure I want their change, I said. I just want peace. That weekend, Ryan posted something of his own. It was a photo of him and Claire on the wedding dance floor, just them, slightly out of focus. The caption was simple. Every beautiful thing you saw at our wedding was possible because of my sister. I let others take credit. I stayed silent. Not anymore. Hashtag truth matters, hashtag family means everyone. I read it 3 times. Claire messaged me. He wrote it himself. Didn't even show me first. I didn't cry. But I did feel something settle inside me like a long clenched muscle releasing. Later that night, a knock at my door. It was my dad. I opened it halfway. He looked tired. Hello. We need to talk, he said. About. He fumbled. About all of it. You mean the wedding you didn't pay for? Or the years you told me to be quiet while you fawned over Ryan like I was just a glitch in your parenting algorithm? He flinched. I didn't come here to fight. I leaned on the doorframe. Then what did you come for? To explain. I laughed. You've spent decades explaining who I am without ever asking. He shifted. We didn't know how to connect with you. You were always different. Different how? He looked up. You never needed us. That hit like a slap made of fog, not painful, but heavy. You didn't love me because I wasn't needy? I said. He looked away. I closed the door halfway again. Tell Mom she can stop spinning the story. The receipts are already out there. The only thing left is whether you want to fix your story or keep lying in it. He didn't respond. Just nodded. Turned. Left. On Monday, Claire sent me a photo. It was a framed copy of one of the invoices, the band, to be specific, with a handwritten note beneath it in her handwriting. To the one who actually showed up. Ryan had hung it in their living room. A week later, I hosted dinner. Not for my family. For my real people. Claire brought wine. Ryan brought flowers. My friend Sasha made her famous garlic knots. We filled my little apartment with food, stories, and a playlist that bounced between 2000s nostalgia and indie jazz. No one talked about the wedding. No one had to. Because the only thing louder than the truth was the absence of lies. Ryan helped me do dishes after. You sure you're okay? He asked. I'm better than okay, I said. For once, I'm not hiding. He handed me a plate. Mom's still furious. I smirked. She should be. The truth is expensive when you've been living off lies. He laughed. She's trying to reframe it as a communication breakdown. Let her. He nodded. You want me to cut them off? I paused. No. That's her call. But me? I'm done playing the version of myself they're comfortable with. So what now? I wiped my hands. Now, I live like someone who paid for the wedding and finally paid herself back. 2 months later, I changed my number. Not dramatically. Not to punish anyone. Just to draw a line in ink instead of pencil. I got one final message from my mom, forwarded through my old work email. We hope you'll reconsider. Family should come before pride. Your father and I are willing to forgive what happened. I didn't respond, but I forwarded it to Ryan with a single line. I don't need their forgiveness. I never asked for their permission. He replied. Understood. For what it's worth, I like the unfiltered version of you a hell of a lot more. The wedding album arrived in the mail 2 weeks later from Claire. Inside, a handwritten note. We didn't include the speeches. We included the story. Page 3, a candid of me plating the food at the tasting. Page 12, me laughing in the corner during rehearsal, arms crossed, head tilted back. Page 29, the back of me, walking away from the mic, the whole reception watching. It was the most powerful picture in the book. I didn't frame it. I didn't need to. Because every day I lived my life with truth and boundaries was a better portrait than anything they'd ever posed for. One night, while journaling, I wrote something that stuck with me. Being forgotten by people who taught you to be invisible isn't a loss. It's a beginning. I highlighted it, then closed the book. Weeks passed, then months. Claire and Ryan invited me to dinner often. We made new memories, talked about renovating their home. He asked me to help design a small reading room. Not a shrine, he said. Just a space where stories actually get told. I helped, because for the first time, I was helping someone who wanted me in the picture, not to complete it, but to belong in it.